Welcome back, YouTubers. I am Jason Wiersema. This is Tankers Fantasy Football, and we got some sexy deluxe starts and sits for Week 7 for you guys. But before we get started, you know how we do here at Tankers Fantasy Football. Maybe you throw us a like, maybe you don't. Maybe you throw us a subscription, maybe you don't. Maybe you go fuck yourself. All right, we're going to lead it off with some starts at running back. Got some Derrick Henry. I know Derrick Henry's probably penciled into your RB2 spot no matter what, but maybe you're feeling a little leery about his 4.3 yards per attempt 4.3 PPR points last week, and Ryan Tannehill taking over at quarterback. I think I know Ryan Tannehill sucks, but I don't think he sucks quite as much as Marcus Mariota. So I think we got an all-in Derrick Henry situation at home. He tends to do better at home, and he's playing the Chargers. We're giving up the fourth most points to running back. So all in on Derrick Henry. All right, got some another all-in RB2 situation. I know you're going to start this guy no matter what, but this is just kind of making you feel really good about it out there. Got some Josh Jacobs at Green Bay. Are giving up the most points to opposing running back. So all in RB1 status for this week for Josh Jacobs. So we got some Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. They're going to Washington to play the Redskins, who are giving up 159 scrimmage yards a game to running back. So I think you can get it sexy with some flex options with Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida this week. All right, we got some Broncos tomorrow night versus the Chiefs. We're giving the third most yards, giving up 178 scrimmage yards to running backs. I know Philip Lindsay's probably already penciled into your lineup, but I'm saying Royce Freeman can probably be a solid flex play this week. He's averaged 10.7 PPR points on the season, has yet to find the end zone, but I think that changes on Thursday night. I'm going to give old Royce Freeman a touchdown. All right, we got some Chase Edmonds. If David Johnson sits, he's got ankle problems, a new ankle situation. He's got his back situation, which made him a game-time decision last week. So if Chase Edmonds does get the start, this is an all-in high-end RB2 situation versus the Giants, who are giving the fourth most yards to opposing running backs. Giving up 171 scrimmage yards to running backs all week are the Giants. So if David Johnson sits, I think this is an all-in Chase Edmonds situation. Right, if a player sits, if Alvin Kamara doesn't suit it up at Soldier Field versus the Bears this week, I think Latavius Murray can be a very solid back-end RB2 flex play for you. We saw what Josh Jacobs and the Raiders were able to do to the Bears via the rush in London. So I think, the Bears defense sounds a lot more fiercer than it is versus the run right now. They're 17th in yards allowed to running backs thus far this season. So if Kamara does sit and you are the Latavius owner, I would not be afraid to run him out there this week. We'll get some Devin Singletary and maybe even little old man Frank Gore if you're feeling desperate. Singletary was a full participation in practice on Wednesday. He's got the Dolphins coming to Buffalo. The Dolphins are giving up the most yards, giving up 195 scrimmage yards to running backs all week, and the second most fantasy points, along with the second most touchdowns to opposing running backs. So all in sexy deluxe Devin Singletary this week. All right, got some sits at running back. I know most of these guys probably can't afford to sit him. You probably, unless you're in 8-team leagues or something like that, you probably can't afford to sit these guys, but I think this is more of a temper expectation situation. You got Le'Veon Bell versus the Patriots, giving up the second fewest yards and the least amount of fantasy points and the least amount of touchdowns to opposing running backs are the Patriots. I know this game is in Gotham City, but I just don't know. I know you have to start Le'Veon Bell. You absolutely drafted him in the first round. You're going to fucking start him. Bottom line, but I think you got to temper expectations versus the Patriots. This defense is fierce. So we got some Kerryon Johnson, another temper expectation situation. He's playing the Vikings. We're giving him the sixth fewest yards, the seventh fewest touchdowns, and the third fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. And Kerryon Johnson, I thought he was going to get it super sexy versus the Packers last Monday night. Didn't really get it going. Did find himself in the end zone to salvage his day, but I don't know. I had a lot higher hopes for Kerryon Johnson coming into the season. He's kind of let me down out there. I know you still have to start him as your RB2 from where you drafted him in your league, but I'm just saying temper your expectations. This guy, I think we can officially sit, even though Chris Thompson's probably going to be out. Chris Thompson's dealing with some turf toe out there, so it's probably going to be the all AP show, but he is playing the Niners. They're giving him the third fewest yards, and they're giving the fewest. They're tied for the Patriots, giving the fewest touchdowns, and they're giving the second fewest fantasy points to running back. So I think there's no reason why you need to put Adrian Peterson in your lineup. No, Joe Mixon's going to try to trick you again. Joe, I hate you, Joe. What has happened? Jacksonville are 25th in yards allowed. 2 running backs, give up 156 a game. Be damned. I don't care. Joe Mixon still has 5 of me's on the offensive line blocking for him. We aren't getting it done, boys. I don't know. I think this is a DEFCON 5 situation. I think if you have any other warm bodies on your bench to consider. I mean, I'm a David Johnson owner and a Chase Edmonds owner. And if somehow David Johnson does suit up, I might start both Arizona Cardinal running backs over Joe Mixon. That is how bad Joe has been this season. All right, another sit. We got David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen playing the Saints. Give them the 7th fewest yards and the 3rd fewest touchdowns to opposing running backs. So if you got anybody else, I would look to explore those options. All right, moving into some wide receiver starts. If Christian Kirk does suit it up, he's got another sexy deluxe matchup in front of him. So Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk this week, all in wide receiver plays. They're going to the Giants. You know the most yards to wide receivers in the league. 210 yards to wide receivers a game. So all in on the Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk if he suits up. Some Robert Woods coming off a catchless game. I know he did get in the end zone off that end around, but he did not get a catch last week. But I think all in on the Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. And of course, you're going to play Cooper Kupp, even though he did have like the 5.7 PPR points last week. I think Cooper Kupp's all in. Not even really going to mention him that much. But Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, get it right, get it tight matchups at the Falcons. If you're ailing, you play the Falcons. The Falcons give the 4th most yards, 197 yards to wide receivers a game, and the 3rd most fantasy points. So all in. Don't be afraid. Get Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods in your lineups. All right, we're gonna go ahead and bench any Chief wide receiver not named Tyreek Hill. So you're talking about you're trying to fuck around. You're gonna try and play some Robinson. You're gonna try to play some Mecole Hardman. Maybe the captain of the Chips. Maybe play some Byron Pringle. I'm saying, don't do those things. The Broncos are very, very stiff against wide receivers, giving the fewest yards and the 2nd fewest touchdowns to any wide receivers. All right, back to some starts. I know we dampened into the sits at wide receivers a little bit right there, but we're back into some starts. John Brown, he was a limited participant at practice Wednesday. If that turns out to be nothing and he suits up, he's got the sexy deluxe matchup at home versus the Dolphins. We're going to have the 4th most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. All right, another start. We got T.Y. Hilton playing the Texans. Give him the 7th most yards, 186 yards, 2 wide receivers allowed. And, if you remember when Brissett was in 2017, T.Y. Hilton looked dead. He got out there and he had 12 combined PPR points in 3 straight games. But then he went out there and he played the Texans and dropped 34.5 PPR points, including 2 touchdowns versus the Texans that year with Brissett. T.Y. Hilton does like to eat the Texans alive, so this is an all-in wide receiver 2 week for T.Y. Hilton. Michael Gallup, I would prefer Cooper sits up just to try to help draw coverage even more, but even if he doesn't, I think Michael Gallup still sexy deluxe play. He's got the Eagles, give him the 3rd most yards, give him 202 yards, 2 wide receivers, and the most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers are the Eagles. So this is an all-in. Michael Gallup coming off that 4-reception game, coming off 3 drops, but I think resurrection gets it sexy versus the Eagles this week. All right, we got another bounce-back week for DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook. Cincinnati stats versus wide receivers aren't that bad because the teams are usually just spending their time running it down their throats, but you look at it, and Cincinnati is down both of their starting corners for this game, so this should be a feast fest for DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook. All right, moving into some sits at wide receiver. I don't know if you can sit him. He's been your boy. He's been your sexy deluxe out there. Scary Terry McLaurin. The Niners are giving the 3rd fewest yards, and you saw what the Niners D was able to do in L.A. versus the Rams. They held Kupp to 5.7 PPR points, and they held Robert Woods without a catch. So if you have any other options, anybody else, that can be a flex play for you this week. I know Scary Terry's been your boy. I'm not telling you to bench Scary Terry for some dick bums out there. I'm not telling you to bench Scary Terry for the warm body deluxes like, Josh Gordon or any dick asshole like that. but I would just temper your expectations. Like this guy, I think we can go ahead and sit. I know he's probably going to play him anyway, but I mean, Marcus Lattimore treatment for Allen Robinson might be the bad news out there. He has shut down Mike Evans and DJ Chark these last 2 weeks, so I would definitely temper my expectations if I was an Allen Robinson owner. I think these guys are all in sits versus the Patriots. Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder. The Patriots give him the second fewest yards and the second fewest touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. I don't think the Patriots are going to let Robbie Anderson get loose on a 92-yarder like he did last week versus the Cowboys. And if Robbie Anderson can't get loose, he's pretty much useless for you. So I'd go ahead and leave Robbie Anderson on your bench. Another sit, we got prison Mike Williams. I know he's had double-digit targets these last 2 weeks. I'm still not that excited about Mike Williams. I just don't know. I just don't like the cut of Mike Williams' jib this season. You watch him, he just doesn't look like he has top-tier abilities, and he's playing the Titans, who are giving up the 6th fewest points to wide receivers. So all in on the sit on Mike Williams. All right, we got a tight end start of the week, and we got a couple quarterback starts for you. I don't know. We're not going to talk about any tight end sits because, I mean, tight end situation is so barren, especially with Disley out right now. A tight end situation is so barren. Can't really tell you to sit anybody of relevance. But Darren Fells out there got 7 targets last week, and he's playing at the Indianapolis Colts. You're going to have the 3rd most points to tight end. So I think you can feel safe and get some Darren Fells in your lineup. All right, a couple starts at quarterback. Jared Goff out there. I know he went out there and just shit the bed for you. In some leagues, he even scored negative versus the Niners last week. Some people went on there, probably got on tilt and dropped Jared Goff. And if that's the case, I'd pick him up because he's got a sexy deluxe, get it right, get it tight versus the Falcons in Atlanta. Give him the 3rd most touchdowns and the 2nd most points to opposing running backs. So I would not be afraid to get Jared Goff back in your lineup. All right, quarterback start of the week, I think, is Josh Allen. Playing the Dolphins, give him the most touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. Bills coming off a bye. Bills at home. Dolphins on the ropes. This is everything. The Vegas is like, the spread's like Bills minus 17 on this one. Vegas is projecting an absolute bloodbath up in Buffalo, and so am I. So I would go ahead and rev up your Josh Allens for this week. All right, you like the cut of my jib? Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share. If you're feeling generous, go ahead and tell your league mates about us out there. Quit being selfish. We're trying to grow this channel, people, so you cannot be selfish. You got to tell your league mates out there. Make your leagues more competitive by letting them know about your boy and Tankers Fantasy Football. All right, holler at me. Oh yeah, maybe you got some questions. Maybe you got some questions. Forgot about this part. Throw all your questions, all your start, sit 'em questions, all your trade questions. Put them down in the comment section below. I will get back to you. I always do. All right, baby. Holler at me again. You know what I mean?
I'm hot as fuck, bitch.